William, two little boys in southern Sudan that I met. I tell you, God uses all kinds of ways to teach you and show you what he sees. He might ask you to go on a missions trip. Are you ready? Are you ready to break out of the comfort zone? Are you ready to trust God, take him by the hand, and let him lead you away from everything that's familiar to you? If you say he's Lord of your life, then you ought to be saying, count me in. Simon and William were two little boys in southern Sudan, and he had a similar experience to what James Jenna went through. All of his family, he watched all of his family be killed in front of his eyes. All the adults were killed in their village, and then they were taken, the young boys were taken as slaves to the north. Well, Simon was sold as a slave to a man who herded sheep. And Simon didn't know how to herd sheep. He didn't do it very well, and so this man didn't like Simon as a little boy. And so he took a noose and he tied it around Simon's neck. These are our brothers and sisters, friends. Some of you are uncomfortable. I can see it in your face. We have to hear about this. There's more to Christianity than the American dream with Jesus' name slapped on it. It's life and death. It's heaven and hell. It's real. Simon had been taken and sold into slavery, and so the guy puts a noose around his neck, ties the other end of the rope to a camel, slaps the camel and makes the camel run, and he drags Simon all around by the neck. He turns around and decides to sell him so hopefully he can get some of his money back. He goes to the next guy. That guy didn't like him, so he sells Simon again. And Simon gets sold to this one guy who doesn't like him, and so he just takes him out into the bush, and he ties a rope around his neck, and he hangs him from a tree and leaves him to die hanging in the bush. Just so happens, this guy comes walking through the bush. And just so happens, finds Simon, cuts him down, and Simon still has some life in him. And just so happens that this guy knew Simon's parents before they were killed. And the beauty of God is that this man finds this little boy hanging by his neck. There's life still in him, and so he adopts him and takes him as his own child. Isn't that what a very good God has come to do with us? How many of you were lost in all of that mess? Hanging there like I was. 2 weeks before I gave my life to Christ, I sat on the edge of my bed with a hunting knife to my wrist. I was going to slit my wrist and die in my bedroom. But God adopted me and took me as his own. I asked Simon, I said, how do you feel about Jesus? And how do you feel about all these things that happened to you? And Simon looked at me, and at the time he was 12 years old, he said, I think God must have a wonderful plan for my life. I think so too. And I think God must have a wonderful plan for all of your lives, because you are of great value to him.